Okay, so this is my first video, so we're gonna try to do this the right way. I guess I'm gonna tell a story. So I was in the yard the other day. My dad had, said, hey, we're gonna go do some yard work, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So I was cutting bushes and, like, trimming them up, and, I was doing that. And so I was keeping on the lookout. I was like, there are probably like bugs or creatures in this, lizards or frogs. There's a bunch of tree frogs and lizards around here. So I was keeping on the lookout, and so I found this I saw something move. And I found this really small lizard. Okay? Just a baby, like literally. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to hurt this baby with my clippers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you and I'm going to put you on another tree. Or I'm going to put you on the car so that you don't, like, die by my clippers. I don't accidentally clip your head off. Like, I know that sounds gruesome, but still. So I picked the lizard up, and he's like, he doesn't even run away. He's just like there. He's like, oh, okay, you're picking me up? Okay. So I pick him up, and I put him on the car, and I continue to trim the bushes, and I get done, and I go to pick the lizard up, and my dad's sitting there watching me, and I'm like, okay, so it's time to put this lizard back where he belongs on a tree so he doesn't die. And so I pick him up, and yeah, so I pick him up, and he's just sitting there on my hand. I'm not like holding him real tight or anything. I'm not even holding him at all. He's just sitting on my hand while I go to the tree. I go to the tree, and I kind of put my hand up to the branch, and I'm like, come on, go on the little branch, lizard. And he just crawls up my arm, like really fast crawls up my arm and sits on my shoulder. And so I'm like, okay, lizard. And then I put my shoulder to the branch. I'm like, okay, go on. And I try to push him off a little bit. So I then push him off a little bit, and then the lizard, he crawls onto my neck and then down my back. And I'm like, okay, this is enough. And I'm like, Dad, can you please help me get this lizard off of the flippin' body of mine and onto the tree where he belongs? And so my dad had to chase him like all around my body and be like, hey, dude, it's time for you to get back on the tree now. It was just a really funny thing. And so that's the end of that story. We eventually did get him on the tree. One thing I did notice is my camera fell a lot during this video. I need to find a better setup for my camera. So if you ever have a good art setup for your phone camera, right now I have a box that I put my camera through a little slit in the box that goes over my sketchbook. So if you have any better recommendations, please comment down below. But anyways, on to the next story. I was about maybe 6 or 7 when this happened. It's a funny story looking back on it, but I was not so happy. I was not so happy in this story. I had to get stitches, and that's never a fun thing. So it was July the 4th, and I was like, hey, so, let's go to our aunt's house. And so we went to our aunt's house, and she has a pool and everything. And yeah, so we were in our swimsuits, and she lives in a neighborhood, and we were in our swimsuits, and she had bought these little flags for us. They were like regular flags they were almost as tall as me, if not taller. And so I was running across the street in this flag, and so I tripped on the pole of the flag and fell to the concrete. Let's just say the concrete always wins. I think we all know that when it comes to you and concrete, the concrete is gonna win when you fall. Whether it's just a skint knee or a busted nose. In my case, it was a busted chin. And so I fall, and of course, being the 7-year-old I was, I started crying and stuff. And so my aunt looks over at me, and her face, I remember her face, it just dropped. And then my mom was running up to me with a rag, and all I remember seeing was blood. And so I get put in the back seat of a car, and I get taken to the hospital. And of course, me being the 7-year-old I was, and still today, I am terrified of doctors. I hate doctors. Hate all of them for some reason. I don't know why. But so they ended up having to tie me down. There goes my camera. They ended up having to tie me down. So they ended up having to tie me down with sheets to give me the stitches because they numbed me, but I was still fully conscious. And I was fighting. I was struggling. I don't do that kind of stuff, man. And so I ended up getting the stitches, and the doctor, I remember him saying, he was like, oh, now you look like your dad, because the stitches were on my chin, and there were so many of them that it looked like I literally had a beard. So, that happened. And yeah, so there's the story about the lizard, and there's the story about my chin on July the 4th. Also, another thing about July the 4th, I was really sad because I sat there in my grandmother's house the rest of the night with stitches in my chin, and all I could hear was the fireworks, and I never got to see any of them because I was either in the hospital or laying in the bed. And it was like a really sad night because I didn't get to see the fireworks. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the art video and me talking over my art. Yeah, this is just a video of a trans boy after top surgery. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye bye.